go. Welcome to This Week in Black America, where we give you all the news about what you missed this week. If you've been working all week, maybe you've been seeing stuff happening. Maybe you haven't been seeing it, but every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, we are going to give you the happenings, what was said, what was done. And we throw a little extra perspective that we call a Black perspective and how it affects us here in Black America. So we are your host, Brother Deshaun, my brother on my left side or my right side, depending on how you're looking, Curtis Cheatham Jr., and we got a great show. Why don't you tell the people a little bit about kind of what we're going to be discussing over the next 90 minutes, Curtis?
Hello, and welcome to This Week in Black American News. And I'm here with your weekly update. Today in politics, President Trump signed an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education, while federal judges ordered 19 agencies to rehire thousands of laid-off employees. Meanwhile, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer broke ranks with the Democrats to support a Republican-backed government funding bill. And in immigration news, ICE detained activist Jeanette Vizgara, sparking protests out in Denver. In space, NASA astronauts Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore returned home after a 270 days mission was delayed by technical issues with the Boeing Starliner. And in sports news, March Madness is kicked off. Auburn being seeded number 1 overall in the men's side, and in the ladies' side, the UCLA Bruins are the number 1 seed. And weather related, there's a massive storm system that brought deadly crashes, severe damage, over 100 wildfires all across the central states.
More wildfires.
Absolutely. Well, that's your update with This Week in Black America News update. And we have some other stuff that, of course, we're going to go into and discuss. But right off the bat, brother, is there anything in that rundown of topics that kind of piques your interest?
I mean, the wildfires are concerning. Obviously, we it's just all you can do is pray for people who's, I mean, it's just amazing. It's like because when I think about wildfires, I think about drought. I think about a lot, but just, I mean, I'm in New Jersey here. We're both in New Jersey. We've seen stuff we haven't seen. It's like I've heard the term wildfire more in the last 12 months than I probably ever heard it in my life. So it's like every other month or every month, there's new people in danger of these things. So, but no, we got a lot of big things to cover in this show. From oh my God, DEI crackdowns. A lot of people on social media discussing what these headlines mean concerning segregation. We have some very sad news that we want to make sure we put a spotlight on, which are these 2 young twin brothers found unalived in Georgia, supposed to be on their way back to Boston and end up in Georgia. So, I mean, my God, Curtis, why don't you just kick us off? Let's start the first topic and let's get in. By the way, if this is something that, you're like, hey guys, this sounds like exactly what I need every Friday, like I'm busy throughout the week, or I just like to be able to catch up with what happened this week, then definitely hit the like button and subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss a show. We're here every Friday at 12 Eastern Time. So what's the first order of business, Curtis?
Yeah, I think we can probably start where you mentioned, because that's just... It's just a sad story that continues to recur here in America. 2 young men, Qaadir and Naazir Lewis, 20-year-old twins from Georgia, were found, as you say, unalived in Georgia woods. Now, the backdrop of the story is that these young men were supposed to be going to visit friends in Boston the next day. They already had tickets. They had the tickets on them when they were found. And now I believe this happened like on a Friday, maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And the quote unquote investigation happened on a Saturday. And then on Sunday, the police announced that basically they were saying that these young men had been involved in some sort of pact to unalive each other. Some sort of, I guess, murder-suicide pact type thing. So these are the beautiful young men on the screen that you have there. And, you know, the family is certainly fighting back against the narrative that's being put forth by the police. First of all, these young men were found in a part of the state that they had never been to. They had no reason to be there. They're not hikers. They're not these outdoor enthusiasts that like to go hiking in the mountains there. So they were found 90 miles, as I understand it, in the opposite direction of where they should have been going, which was to the airport. Now, the last piece of backdrop there that I think is important, it's been reported that the area where they were found is reported to have been what's called a sundown town. Now, if you're unfamiliar with that terminology, a sundown town, it still exists to this day, unfortunately, but it harkens back to the Jim Crow era, of course, where there were certain towns throughout the South where you were just, as a black person, when the sun went down, you better not be out on those streets in those towns. It's a problem. And this is like, of course, this is the worst kept secret in the world. Everybody knows you shouldn't be out in this town after sundown. So this was one of those sundown towns. So something's not adding up for me. You know, these young men, clearly they were not ready to off themselves because they had plans to travel to go see friends the very next day. That's not something that you would expect someone to try and end their life if they had these plans already in place. So that's kind of the backdrop. What are your initial thoughts? It's just, this makes me so angry because this has happened so many times and continues to happen, obviously. And then they kind of do sort of a cursory investigation, make up some sort of reason as to what this happens and hope that it sticks.
Yeah, just it's getting more and more blatant. It's getting more and more serious. I mean, I don't put these two brothers' deaths above anybody else's deaths that we've seen in our course here in America. But when we start to see deaths that look, you had said something yesterday when we talked. You said this really gives me Emmett Till vibes.
Yeah.
And when we start to feel like we're going that backwards, where you know we've had two brothers who are on their way home to Boston, right? They lived in Boston, right? Or,
no, they actually lived in Georgia. They were going to Boston just to visit friends. They were coming back to Georgia eventually.
Okay, so they end up in the entire almost 100 miles, about 90 miles in the opposite direction from Boston. Both of them. I've heard YouTube. Well, you know what's crazy? I watch videos. They say dead all the time, and it has 100, 200,000. So I don't know if the whole dead thing. You know, unalived is. I'm saying dead until I find.
Listen,
because because I'm not unalived sounds for me a little softer than the fact these guys were murdered.
Right.
These are the words YouTube doesn't want us to say. Supposedly these brothers were murdered, and the fact that this is happening in 2025 and we have to we there's not a public outrage. Why isn't this on the news everywhere?
Right.
We just have to realize that that's where we are in 2025. We are still seeing, so when the police kill us, that's one thing. But when now we have, if this was two white brothers, no offense to my white brothers and sisters who have been found murdered in a black town somewhere, this would be headline news. So what are we going to see in terms of the pursuit of justice for these two brothers? How hard is it going to be? Where's the national coverage? That's the part where I'm like, you know.
Now, just to be clear, there was one arrest associated with this, but not for their actual killings or anything really related to it. It was a misdemeanor charge against some firefighter. And the way it was positioned in the story is that the firefighter basically was a first responder who had posted some pictures, I guess, of the crime scene on his on his social media or something. So it could have been that, you know, they were thinking that it might have been he had something to do with it, and he just kind of took these sort of trophy pictures, if you will, so kind of thing. But at this point, it seems like more like he was just kind of a I don't know, a fan, one of those. Well, people are always trying to go viral now with whatever they can. So if he had access to something maybe a little gruesome or sensationalized type situation and thought it would help his traction social media wise, it seems like, at least at this point, that might be his motivation, not something more nefarious as far as him being involved or anything like that.
Well, you know, all we could do is, you know, just bring the people to justice. You know, there's sad situations that happen for all races. My wife watches she watches some of these crime shows, true crime, and you know, the things that happen to families in this country, not the world, because I always say, how many shows? What blows my mind, my wife's been watching these shows for like 5, 6, 7 years. It's always new ones. It's never like, you know, we're running short on gruesome murders. You know, you have nothing to talk about. You know, the show ran out of, you know, it's always a new gruesome situation. And so people of all races get killed. So, I mean, all we could do at this point is really pray for the family and pray that they get justice, swift justice, and that they don't feel like they need to be, you know, going through heavy lifting. Because again, I personally feel like, and I think maybe some people would agree, that if these two twin brothers who are Black mysteriously, you know, killed in a white town, if the opposite was happening, not only would the justice, I think, be swift, you'd have the dogs out, you'd have everything out looking for, you know, you'd be arresting 20, 30 people wrong. Hey, so near it, you know, letting them go. I had nothing to do with it. 27 wrong arrests. Can we see that? Can we see a couple arrests? So anyway,
yeah,
I pray for justice for these brothers and their families.
Yes, absolutely. Far too often we have two very different justice systems in America, depending on, unfortunately, the color of your skin, whether or not you will get justice in this country or not. So we can only pray that they get justice in this lifetime. Certainly, we can also pray that there's justice for them in the afterlife as well. So, yeah, just a sad thing. The fact that Black life is so devalued, and, you know, we could circle this around to the whole Black Lives Matter conversation again. And this is exactly why Black Lives Matter is the appropriate term to use instead of all lives matter. Because although it is a true statement that all lives matter, all lives are not being devalued the way that Black lives are being devalued. And the fact is that if you can kill someone or several someones and have no repercussions, in fact, nobody even seems to be looking for you as a criminal, that's problematic and certainly indicative of an unjust legal system. And we need to make sure that legal justice is available for all of us, not just some of us. And until that happens, you know, it's always going to be an uneven system, and people are going to, especially folks, Black folks, are always going to bear the brunt of more and more of the burden of that legal system, or
Absolutely.
as some people call it, injustice system.
Absolutely. Which
Now,
I mean, let's segue to I think our next topic, which is at the top of our rundown.
Now I wanted to go into this, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to talk about this because it's just sad and it's kind of a strange segue. But we did an entire show on Hello Black America about this, so I feel like we have to circle back to it now, and I want to get your thoughts, of course. In that, I believe you're talking about the Black Project 2025 making a decision to kind of fold up the tent and not go any further. That's a sad thing for me. What are your thoughts on Aniyah Holloway deciding to fold up the Black Project 2025, which had so much promise, it seemed like a couple months ago?
I'm extremely disappointed, and I can't sugarcoat it. We got to realize that Black America continues to prove that we will get behind a movement, and we'll get behind a leader. We'll get behind a mission. We did it with Black Lives Matter. We did it with Black Project 2025, a movement that is not often talked about, that actually rose up and fizzled. Actually, similar is the Blackout Coalition, which was a Facebook group that the guy Calvin Martyr is his name. He put a million people, and make sure you check in with us whenever you come on. Please let us know where you're watching from. We love to know where you're checking in from. But you might remember Calvin Martyr and the Blackout Coalition that happened right early in the pandemic, where the brother said, "Hey, let's get everybody in a group." Brother got, I want to say, over 1 million people in a Facebook group. Didn't know what to do with it. And unfortunately, I said this to you when we were talking yesterday. You can ask God for something, but you better be ready for it when he gives it to you. If you're going to casually play around with your prayers, the girl said, "We need a Black Project 2025. This is my vision." Didn't really have a vision. She had an idea. And again, I'm not here to bash her. I'm here to let her know that I'm here to let other people know, the next Aniyah Holloway, because she came on TikTok and she said, "I see a vision of Black people investing in businesses together, starting grocery stores, starting, or just basically having our own network where we invest in things that we own and buy Black product, but also invest in building Black businesses." Upwards of 50,000 people moved.
Right.
Went to a Discord group. First went to one server, crashed it. Then she moved to a Discord group. And it was literally a viral movement where people are like, "Yo, you know what? You're right. We're ready. Let's make a move." So you and I jumped on it immediately. We saw it a couple days after it went viral. Who's familiar with Black Project 2025? If you're watching, let us know. Did you see it? Did you give money to donate? Did you share it? Did you even see it? Because this thing went to the moon quick as possible. So we're thinking, and as Curtis, you said, we did a whole show on it. I don't even know if we want to leave that show up, because we promoted Black Project 2025 like it was God's gift to Black America, because we believed it was a network of tens of thousands of people investing into businesses. And I'm gonna tell y'all a problem, and this is just my simple thing. Pooling money, I said this before, pooling money is a very unintellectual conversation. Anytime you hear people say, "Let's get together and pool our money," how about no? We're not pooling. I'm not pooling money with a bunch of people I don't know. And I think that's the way most Black people think. Most intelligent investors are like, "What do you mean pool money?" Now, when we start talking about buying shares and investing in companies and being given shares in those companies where we're getting dividends every couple months, we're getting returns on those shares, our values of our shares are increasing. We can see what the company is doing that we own a part of. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about investing and building companies. But I wanted to get these ideas to her. And I was hoping somebody would get these ideas to her, because, young lady, you have tens of thousands of people in a group who are ready for the orders. What's the next move? Let's do it. And we couldn't get in touch with her. I have a page that has, a couple 100,000 followers on TikTok and Instagram. I'm tagging everybody. I'm tagging Black media outlets. I'm tagging, and I saw, Roland Martin, who I had tagged. I'm sure it was big where he probably found it without the tag, but I did tag him, and I'm tagging everybody. You need to know about Black Project 2025, because this is our movement. And he went on the post when she shared that she was dissolving the nonprofit. He just put, damn shame, because it's an entirely missed opportunity. And unfortunately, when Black America moves, it's not always we're going to move again in 3 months or 2 months. It's like, yo, Dad, we put all this energy in. A lot of people gave money. I believe they raised upwards of
over $100,000.
Yep, and then they launched Kin, which is a cryptocurrency that they wanted people to invest in, because they said we're going to have our own currency, and I believe some people gave to that. So a lot of people are mad. You went from having one of the biggest moves, you went from having the biggest Black movement of the last 3 years to potentially being sued, and that's a fall from grace. So very disappointed, to say the least, that Black Project 2025 is no more. What are your thoughts? Seeing where it was, seeing how fast it came, seeing where it's at now, and what do you think? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I didn't invest the amount of time in tagging people, although I did reach out to several media people to see where their awareness was about Black Project 2025. Because I thought it was something that we could certainly get behind. It's a shame, though, that we haven't learned to put enough trust in each other to let things have the time to mature, to become something. And we talked about it on the episode of on Hello Black America, that, people often are going to take a wait and see attitude before they support something. And then there's those people that are just looking to kind of tear something down regardless. So you kind of have to be thick-skinned, but at the same time, something you said there that was very salient to me is that, they started some kind of cryptocurrency or whatever. I heard a little bit about that, but at the beginning of something like this, you need to have laser focus on what it is, what the most important thing. Keep the main thing the main thing. And when you start dividing your attention, like anything else you divide, you take away from the whole. And so I think at least initially, you want to make sure that you remain focused on the main thing, which is, as she stated, which was basically uniting Black consumers, Black retailers, that sort of thing, and sort of giving us a hub to go and get those products and services. So it is sad, but by the same token, eventually, hopefully, something else is going to rise up, and maybe we will have learned something from this that will help us move further the next time. But yeah,
it's just about we need to be buying and investing in businesses. I know this is new to us as a people, but it's not a new model. Buying and investing in businesses. We keep discussing Black people. We're tired. The reason we're tired is because we've had 400 years of working and not being able to rest, not being able to bear fruit, see the fruits of our ancestors' labor. Typically when your ancestors work as hard as ours did, they're setting up future generations for
right.
easier work. But if you burn down their city, or you take their equity, or you whatever, it doesn't get passed down. That generational wealth doesn't get passed down. We're starting over, and we're starting over knowing that the other people had this head start. So you get tired. And what's good about getting tired is you start to say, all right, what can I do with my money so my money can work for me? The name of the game with us is investing in the people who have the businesses to build, and letting them we're buying shares in these companies, and we're building things. We're letting our money work for us. I'm not talking about the stock market. I'm talking about everything that we do, from launching, bioengineering companies, from some of our scientists to tech firms to startups that our Black geniuses are going to be launching. We should be investing in these companies, and so that when these companies are growing, and I'm talking about everything, investing in nations we come from. Every project should be, my money is moving. And and when your money starts moving as a community, you start to see that I don't need to work as hard. But because we are not investing in things and seeing great growth, we continue to have to work hard. And that's the part that, for the next movement, and I say it to the brothers over at Earn Your Leisure all the time, they got a project called InvestFest. God bless InvestFest. If we're not investing, then this doesn't mean anything. So if you're bringing businesses to us over and over and over again that we have the opportunity to invest in, pass or invest, that's what I think, in my vision, when I see Black people rising up as a people. We have tons of brilliant people building things, and geniuses building products and building companies that the rest of Black America and the African diaspora is funding. And that's what I think. And anything else is just talk. And that's what I was trying to get across to Aniyah. Let's get some private equity firms together, the guys who have the money, and let's put some people together with people who need to raise the money for their businesses. And unfortunately, we never had a chance to have that conversation with her.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, but I had the young lady in my prayers last evening, just for her mental health and for her continued energy to move forward and try and help other people. So, sometimes you learn, any experience can be a learning experience and you can grow from it. And certainly this doesn't have to be her demise or anything. She can still be like the Phoenix and rise from the ashes. And I pray that would be the case for her. Now, moving into some other stuff here, I really don't want to talk about this, but because I hate mentioning this guy's name, but 047 is up to his tricks again. And I feel like we have to, because I know we have to address this, because I keep seeing these posts talking about segregation being returned and things of that nature. So we kind of have to talk through that, make sure our audience understands what's going on. And 047 signed an executive order this week that prohibits, or basically reversed, the prohibition on segregation for federal contractors. And I know even when you and I talked about it, we had to get some kind of understanding about what was actually going on. At least not right now, folks. You probably aren't going to see us return to the whites only signs on water fountains any longer, because there still is the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which is still the law of the land, although I'll go on the record and say that clearly there is an effort to probably undermine and maybe even eliminate that 1964 Civil Rights Act at some point. But that has not been done yet. So the law of the land still prohibits segregation based on race and gender and, a whole myriad of other reasons why you can't, or that you cannot segregate. But what it is saying, what this executive order is saying, is it undid an executive order by Lyndon Johnson back in, I guess, 64, saying that anybody that does business with the federal government as a contractor cannot discriminate. So it's really that simple. If you are a contractor, so say Tesla, for example, is a contractor for, or one of his companies, maybe a better one might be what is it, Starlink? That's the name of the his space folk. So they are a federal contractor. So in theory, at some point, you might see him segregating his lunchroom at his building. He's got a white lunchroom and a black only lunchroom. And feasibly now, he could still do business with the federal government, although they are discriminating in their particular business. So, I mean, it's as with most of the things that 47 has been doing. It's a lot of smoke and smoke and mirrors. It's a big announcement that is serving up red meat to his base, but the message is more important than the actual action, because really, like I said, there's really not, this is more symbolic than anything else in my view, because like I said, the law is still there. Now it could be an opening statement saying that, yeah, we're doing this piece now, but eventually we're trying to undo that whole thing so that you can actually legally segregate again. The fact of the matter is that most of of white America chooses to self-segregate. So clearly it's not they have the mindset to not combine with black folks. I mean, there's been reports that 75% of white America has no proximity to blackness in their personal lives. That means no black friends, no black neighbors, no nothing.
And I think it's like that with black people too, right? I mean, most black people don't have a bunch of white friends in urban neighborhoods.
Well, see, but the difference is that we don't, in the situations where we don't have white friends, it's not because we're not willing to. We're not leaving their neighborhoods when a black person moves in the neighborhood. I mean, when a white person moves in the neighborhood. You know, if you have a majority black neighborhood and a white person moves in, it's not like the rest of the neighbors are being like, oh, I got to go now. There goes the neighborhood. But that is actually the case that happens so often when the situation is reversed. So you have a majority white neighborhood and a black family moves in, and that black family gets, in a lot of cases, or in some cases at least, is attacked, is treated poorly. Their property is sometimes damaged. So, the fact is that, and this keeps showing itself over and over again. So to my white brothers and sisters who might take some umbrage with what I'm saying, it keeps getting proven over and over again. It's not like I'm making this up. And then when you add that in with the systemic things such as redlining and things of that nature that we talked about on another episode of Hello Black America, when you combine all those things, it just amounts to white self-segregation. And so that, I think that's the difference between those, from what we see in the black community. Thoughts?
Yeah. I think this is just leading. You had said something a little minute ago about President Trump and, it being smoke. I think some people, everyone doesn't, I think President Trump's extremely calculated. Some people think, I've heard people say, this is just for even some of his people. Some of his people who really rally for him will say, oh, he's just talking. That's what he does. But I don't see it as that. I see it as extremely calculated, long-term moves and long-term negotiation, because if you say stuff and you can't just go take a country, you have to set it up. And just like Mexico and Canada, I want to take Mexico, Canada, Panama Canal, Greenland, Gaza. I can't just go take it. I have to set it up. And he said something. He said, when they asked him, would you use military force to take Canada? He said, no, I don't think military, economic force. So he understands that I could exactly get black with me. Good to see you. It's called Sowing Chaos.
Absolutely.
Is it sowing chaos for the sake of sowing chaos, or sowing chaos for the fact that I have a move that I want to make and I'm going to make that move, but I have to kind of prime the pump. I got to get people ready. So when I look at him, the what he says concerning the destabilizing, keeping these nations, Canada and Mexico and potentially the European Union, destable because I'm gonna put tariffs on you. So therefore, your businesses can't really order inventory or can't really, pay their invoices because you can't project what the 90 days ahead of you are gonna look like. So I'm literally keeping your whole industry, your whole economy rather, unstable. So that, and I know I got some people in your economy who actually don't like you that much. So that's what, when I look at how he plays these moves, I think he has a very long-term plan. So when I see something like this, it bothers me because where are you going with this? You're 8 weeks in. Literally, we are 8 weeks in. 8 weeks. 8 weeks. Like, you can't, think about it. You go to the gym in 8 weeks, you've done nothing. You still feel like you're new. This guy has changed. You do anything for 8 weeks, it's like, well, I'm still getting comfortable. 8 weeks. And he came in with a full-scale plan. So when I look and say in 8 weeks, you're rolling, you're now, when I see this word segregation, I see a bunch of black people around. We got viral videos, people dancing. Yeah, we want to be segregated. Unfortunately, all I could think about with this word is the generations before us, who segregation meant, yeah, we'll stay over here. Let us build. Leave us alone. That's not the way it works.
Right.
That's not the way it works. It ain't just y'all go to that side of the room, we'll go over here, and let's just build accordingly. No, that means now anyone who's near our borders, anybody who drives through our town, picture, you're caught driving through a segregated town, you're in big trouble. And this gave them, they came into our ancestors' towns when there was segregation and tore them down because they and so that's the part for me. I hope this generation doesn't think they're smarter or tougher or more equipped than our ancestors were. And that's what it looks like in some of these social media videos. We ain't our ancestors. We gonna enjoy this segregation. We gonna just build up our communities. Yeah, okay. Like that wasn't what they were attempting to do and actually did.
Well, I will say this, and I agree with you that we're not necessarily tougher or what have you than our ancestors, but what we are is more educated. We have more resources. We understand the way the game has historically been played. So there are some advantages. We're not starting over from zero in this case. So, like I said, we know we have some education. We have people in our communities who have, reached a certain status, who are reaching back and trying to assist us and get us information and make us, as a whole, raise lift the race of people. So I don't think it's the exact same situation as it was, in past times. But yeah,
is this a setup for something else, or is this a one-off event?
Well, Get Black With Me said the reason, and we've talked about it a little bit. And this is not this. They're backing up. I said this last week. I think it was. They're backing up a Brinks truck. This is a robbery. That's what this is. This is an old-fashioned heist.
Yeah,
is what we're seeing in America. So. As again, Get Black With Me talked about, it's called sowing chaos. It's sowing chaos over here so that they can steal everything from the country out of the back door.
And just what I want you to remember what you're going to say there, but when there's no accountability, you leave it like Trump made $25 billion in 48 hours with Trump coin.
Right.
He launched a meme coin. It had a market cap of $25 billion in less than 48 hours. We don't know who invested in that coin. We don't know the source of that money. We know that 80% of the people who own Trump coin was his people. So when you don't have the accountability and reporting, it does make it look like you are consolidating government, removing checks and balances, minimizing oversight committees, getting rid of, all oversight committees. It does make it look like you're ready to, basically have your own personal treasure chest here.
Yes. Yeah, and this is it's a crazy time. It's a heist. Again, I'm going to keep us focused on the fact that these folks the rich are getting richer. When you have the richest man in the world with such close access to what used to be known as the most powerful person in the world, that's a recipe for disaster, which kind of leads me into actually a thing that's not even on our list today because it came up late last evening, and you hit me up with it. But in fact,
I know where you're going. No, y'all gonna lose your mind with this. Good to see you, Cyber Lady. I know where you're going. Go ahead, drop this off because this is fresh. This is ours. This is literally hit the press. We already had what we were going to talk about. We thought we did. And here comes this. Go ahead, Curtis. Like, talk about what happened about less than 24 hours ago.
Well, MSNBC reported that that shadow president Elon Musk was going to be in a military briefing for potential plans to go to war with China. So in the event that we were to go to war with China at some point, which of course is in the air, people are talking about that. So it's not completely out of left field, obviously. But he is having the military brief him on what the plan would be should we go to war with China. And it has been reported that Elon Musk has been invited to sit in on those military briefings. Now, this is problematic for a couple reasons. One, of course, and the most obvious perhaps being, is that Elon Musk has not been elected. He is not an elected official. He is not a military official. Frankly, he's a temporary employee because the way that he's set up, he can only be this temporary government employee for a certain period of time. It's only like 120 days or something, maybe 130 days that he can actually serve in that role. So he's a temporary employee who's sitting in on a military briefing about a war with China. And the fact of the matter is that Elon Musk has significant business dealings in China. So if that doesn't scream conflict of interest, what if he wanted to get the military to say, hey, let's bomb these other electric car companies that are competing with me? I don't know. It's a little out of left field, but the fact of the matter is if you can't see the danger in this, then I'm not sure what to tell you, because clearly this is problematic.
Well, and President Trump has denied it. I got the article up saying he's denied. He says right here, President Trump on Friday denied that his administration would show billionaire Elon Musk details of the Pentagon's planning for a potential war with China, citing Musk's various business dealings as a reason to be extra cautious with such information. I don't want to show it to anybody. You're talking about a potential war with China, Trump told reporters. I don't want anybody seeing potential war with China, but I can tell you if we did, we're very well equipped to handle it. Now,
wait, before you go on, let me just ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
He denied this?
After it was found out, how did it even come out? Like it sounds like, what, did somebody just make it up?
The second part of my question is didn't he also deny that he had any knowledge of Project 2025?
Sure, I take it as, hey, you weren't supposed to find out. Maybe that article was not supposed to come out. And because at the end of the day, how does one through some of these journalists are pretty good at what they're doing. So if we find out that unfortunately Elon Musk getting a lot of backlash for some of the things that he's doing. Obviously, you got a base of people that support what he's doing, and there's some good. He's a very smart guy concerning efficiency. It's just the means to the end a lot of people have a question with. Not that we don't have government waste and we want to get rid of fraud, but it's the means that we are using to achieve that end. Does that justify it? And a lot of people don't think so. A lot of people are and we can see, we haven't talked about it yet, but Tesla stock, we can see what's happening. Tesla's being burned. So when you look at an Elon, though, in my mind, he's the smartest tech guy in the room in Washington. So if you're looking at a very, very intelligent China who has, 200 Elon Musk level tech guys, and Elon Musk is the only guy who even understands the language, because we have, Chuck Schumer, who gets up there and you show him, he probably hasn't even checked his own website. Then you look and say, I need this guy, because people are fighting cyber warfare right now. And they're not just fighting these economic wars through, the traditional sense of war that we know about. So they're probably looking and saying, Elon's the only guy who can even understand all of this stuff. We need him in every meeting. But at the same time, as you said, nobody elected him. He doesn't have security. All of this stuff that is absolutely problematic. Nobody confirmed him. The Senate didn't confirm him. All of these things.
No background checks, no security clearance, none of that.
He's not even an American-born citizen. All of these things would be they wouldn't fly in any other day but today, which is cause for concern.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Get Black with me. I appreciate Get Black with me. Made a statement here earlier. His track record of failed business documented to court records. The courts will stop him. In my, it's coming, in my opinion. Now,
you think the courts will stop who?
That I believe Get Black with me is saying that the courts will stop Trump. And I want to address that because we've seen the courts undo a lot of the things that he said, right? We talked about the fact that a lot of the stuff that he's announcing is just bluster. And even in the update at the top of the show, I think it was 19 judges have already basically overturned things that Trump has said. But what we're starting to see here is playing out, and we alluded to it in one of our earlier episodes, is an impending constitutional crisis comes when Trump ignores, if there ever comes a time when Trump ignores what a judge has said. And we're seeing that play out with these people. And I think we got to talk about this because this is important. And this is something Black Americans should be worried about. You heard about the planes that took off with the supposed Venezuelan gangs, gang members, a couple hundred people who were spirited out of the country without due process under that 1798 alien law that the court said, wait a second, I don't think that we're not in wartime. B, I don't know whether you can actually use this as a guideline at this point. So you need to return those planes. And basically the Trump administration said, nah, planes are already gone and we're not making them return. Although the judge explicitly told them to have the planes turn around. Now that's one thing, but this is a point I'm not sure everybody gets. These are Venezuelan citizens, not approved or not convicted of any crime. They are just under some blanket statement that they are criminals, like the Mexicans were in the first Trump administration. But get this part. This is the part that we need to get. He didn't ship these people back to Venezuela. He shipped these people to San Salvador, in a different country. And they are going to house these people in prison for as long as the Trump administration pays them to house these prisoners. So they're not sending them back to Venezuela because they're illegal aliens. They're sending them to another prison state in a whole different country. And they are being held captive by a completely different country. Do you understand the significance of that? That's like they decide, African Americans, y'all can't be here no more. We're shipping y'all off to you name a country.
Wait a minute. Hold on 1 second, because I gotta be hearing you wrong. So you're telling me these are people who are illegal aliens, correct?
No, I'm telling you these are people that are undocumented, whose status is unknown because there was no due process.
But what I'm saying, they haven't been convicted of a crime. They're not criminals here. Okay.
Correct.
So what we would think will be happening is we're shipping them out of the country to Venezuela, where they come from, right?
Correct.
But you're telling me, because when you said this, what I thought about was probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, maybe even 6. President Trump says, we're going to start making deals with other countries to hold the most violent criminals. Key. And next time you run something down, I'm going to see if I can find that video, because the key was, we're going to make deals to get some of the most violent criminals, repeat criminals. Like, you just, instead of holding them here in the U.S., we're going to have other countries hold them, and we'll pay them to hold them. You're telling me that in a matter of weeks after that announcement, he's shipping migrants to be held in what would be similar prisons that he thought criminals were going to be in. But he said, nah, actually, I'm going to just put regular people in those same. Wow.
It's similar to shipping them to Guantanamo Bay, but at least Guantanamo Bay was under, although a different country, was under U.S. control. Now they're sending them to a third country and paying some sort of, I don't know, some sort of despot leader who's willing to take money to house people who are not been convicted of crimes.
Wow.
So
okay.
Let it sink in. I don't know that most people are really understanding the significance of that. Is that now, if you are pro-immigration, immigration reform, and you want to get people out of the country that are here, that are undocumented, I get it. I understand.
Sure.
And there's some parts of me that maybe even agrees with, we need to tighten up and make sure we know who's here. But the fact of the matter is this is wrong, no matter how you slice it. I don't care. There's no justification that you can give for gathering people up, making a blanket statement about their criminality without presenting any evidence, without any trial, without any sort of due process at all, to have them speak on their own behalf, and then just all willy-nilly put them on a plane in shackles and ship them to a place where they have already been told they are going to be imprisoned for at least a year without any due process.
So let me ask you a question. Is there a possibility, either now or in the future, we find out some of these people are actually citizens of the country?
You are absolutely, positively, 100% correct. The fact of the matter is we don't know. And that's the problem. You can't ship people off under the guise of them being some sort of boogeyman and then say, hey, yeah, we're going to send you to San Salvador or El Salvador, whichever one of those Salvadors they shipped them to. But it wasn't Venezuela. Brother,
I think President Trump announces things, and then what he announces is really just a friendlier version of what he really plans on doing. because, and that's why we did an episode, the MAGA watch list, when we first, it's on the Hello Black America channel if you're on YouTube. What we talked about in that was everything that we saw as potentially being something that we as Black Americans would need to account for and adjust to. And one thing we said is, why would we think he's not going to do something he ran on? So I no longer I would rather take it as he's going to do it, so that I'm not sitting here playing a game like, well, he's not going to do anything like that. And then it's like, he did it, and he did, something that was 5 times worse than this. Because again, I'm just hearing this and seeing this unfold this week. You literally say to yourself, how do you throw out a ridiculous idea of holding or an idea that would require many votes and we're going to hold people in a strange land, a strange country, while we because they're criminals. So even that alone would still be like, all right, I don't know about that, but how many offenses? Is it one offense? Is it a murder charge? Is it multiple murder charge? When do you get shipped from a United States prison to a prison in some third world country or in some other country? None of that. And then 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, 5 weeks later, we have undocumented people who are in those same places. That is terrifying. And if you don't think that is terrifying, and that could easily spin over to Black people, you don't have the time to prove who you are. You don't have the time. You remember American Express, never leave home without it? You better not leave home without your dad. Everything to prove who you are. I don't care what passport, birth certificate. You better have not a copy, the original.
With the raised seal on it.
With the raised seal on it. I better see that they took that thing and clamped it and said, and then it might be, hey, they're forging birth certificates now. What do you mean they're forging them? Get in the car, right?
Oh,
So,
God.
Because you do not have the time to explain. These people's families are trying to explain who they are. These people, and God forbid, you are literally locked up for a year in one of these strange countries, and you are a citizen. And hey, I'm a citizen. Hey, everybody's saying that. No, this is crazy to me. That's probably one of the scariest things I've seen since this whole thing has started unfolding. I feel for these brothers. And
no, but wait. Somebody says, but wait, hold on. There's more.
There's more. But
wait, there's more. Now, so okay, if you thought that was scary, let's go a step further. And again, this has kind of we've been reported. I read, I kind of glossed over in the news update at the top, but what we're seeing is 47 is what he said that the Justice Department was doing to him, like sort of treating him poorly by targeting him. We are seeing this president attack people who are citizens or who are here legally, because either they have exercised their First Amendment right to protest in some way, or he just doesn't like them for some reason. The Trump administration always accused the previous administration of weaponizing the justice system. You heard that term a lot, weaponizing the justice system. But now we are seeing in fact that very weaponization that they were trying to hype up, we're seeing it in reality now. So these are at least 2 people that who've been protesters. I think they were both pro-Palestinian protesters, which falls squarely under the First Amendment right to express your opinion. But because they are expressing an opinion contrary to what the president believes, he is targeting these people for deportation, or in some case, some sort of confinement or arrest, really without any charges. So
That is Get Black With Me just said something, and Cyber Lady and Get Back With Me. We're looking at these comments. This conversation you two are having is really good, and we keep bringing them up on the screen. And but you just said something that it's Curtis. You and I have talked about potential civil war. You just feel it brewing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've seen for the first time white Americans who are not happy with white Americans. And that is, you've always seen the first Civil War, obviously, it was fought arguably to end slavery. So you got, abolitionists and people who are against slavery fighting with black people against the Confederate Army. But this is very, very different. We've been saying, hey, this is our country too. Our ancestors built it, but we've never gotten, yes, you're right, guys, it is you guys. We've never gotten that. So, but white people have always felt, beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is our country. So now,
because they stole it fair and square.
Listen, we're going to have a civil war over stolen land because we both think it's ours, and we see evidence that this thing is going off the rails, and this percentage of the white population in this country says, keep going, go faster, go harder. And this percentage of the white Americans, I always say, y'all, they got too many guns. I'm not going to sit up here and see my black people go out here. We can't fight that fight. That's why I love that we chilling. Hope we praying, hearing from God, but I love we chilling because I hope we ain't talking about going out here fighting no fight to try to take back a country that we've always felt like y'all didn't want to give us to begin with. And y'all outgun us. Y'all have way too many guns. My father watches shows where you got white people got 25 AR-15s loaded, lined up, and that's just their AR-15s. So when we start talking about as a whole, the people with the guns, MAGA, and white people who are not MAGA, a lot of tension brewing here. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say full disclosure. I am a solid supporter of the Second Amendment, and I may fall into one of those categories, allegedly.
So, but how many black people?
I'm not going out. These are not offensive tools. But don't come to my place talk about you want to have some business.
All right, you might have 42 guns. Most black people might have 3. So here's what happens. All right, there was some war outside. Now you got 40 black people show up, 3 guns.
Listen.
You giving out guns now, and next thing you know, it's like, oh wait, I only got 5. We don't have enough guns to. Every one of them pulling up have 28 guns. Every one of them. That's why I don't think individually for sure you set up, but as a whole, as far as black people get out here, help us. We can't fight against people we're just not the only time they give us lots of guns is when they want to give them to our kids.
Listen,
go ahead.
I agree with you. I mean, it's not like that's a battle we can overall win because, frankly, we just don't have enough people, right? I mean, the numbers just don't work. I'm just saying. Somebody said, I'm taking 1 or 2 with me. I guess that's all I can tell you. I'm not going alone. Let's put it that way. I'm not going alone. So,
don't fight the fight. Listen, do not fight the fight. Look, the best thing, and I'll tell that to my white brothers and sisters. Don't fight the fight. I get it. You're much better off. It's other, when people say, man, it ain't that serious. All right, so we're going to go out here and we're going to fight to take something back that you never really gave us permission to say it was ours. And then when we help you take it back, I feel like it's 40 acre and a mule deal. Hey, democracy is under fire. Please come help us take it back. And then when we take it back, we'll finally the people who've stopped you black people from having all the equity and everything you want. They're gonna be gone, and then we come and we defeat that, and then we're back. I'm not falling. My mother always says it, and we ain't falling for the banana in the tailpipe.
Nah, not this time.
So I think, I want to see chill and get black with me. I think you're exactly right. It's a white on white civil war.
Yeah.
It's a white on white civil war.
Yeah, we cannot be at the forefront of this fight. We've said that. You and I have talked about it. I've heard other people talking about it, because I think that's what they're expecting. That's what they want. And if they can get black folks into the street, then they get an excuse to shoot us down again. They do have an excuse then to do something even more nefarious, something even more terrible to us. So I agree. Get your coffee, get your tea, watch what's going on. Don't miss what's happening.
Yeah.
Don't be oblivious to what's happening around you, because there is a lot going on, and you don't want to get caught sleeping. That's why you need to stay woke. I'm taking that back. I'm just telling y'all. I'm taking it back. Anyway,
I got to get a shirt that says "Still Woke."
Exactly. Still woke.
We still woke. I don't care how much y'all try to spin it. While you, God, don't get me.
It doesn't even make stupid sense, as old folks used to say, because why would you want to walk around sleep? That's called sleepwalking. You walk in the trees like that. You walk in the traffic like that. You need to stay woke. But anyway.
Get Black with Me said black people got to get their minds right so that we don't turn them on each other. Like it, and I think Get Black with Me. I think we have to prepare. There's a saying, everybody can't come.
Mm-hmm.
We have to deal with the reality that a percentage of our people, I'm worried about them. There's a percentage I'm not worried about. I see people like you, people who are watching.
Right.
These people that still, when is Puppy's trial date? That's the, what my parlay do today? What numbers I'm picking today? What's the over under?
There's all types of stuff happening.
The new Call of Duty is about to drop. Yeah, man, I'm on the. Like, if that, and again, nothing wrong with us having our pastimes. We said that in Hello Black America, one of our shows. We need entertainment. But when you're not, and that's why we are here with This Week in Black America, is because I don't care. You want to play video games all week, bro? Sis, you want to be doing this all week? Come here with us and let us really catch you up on what's happening. So you need to be aware, so you know that we watching, so that when this thing hit, we have planned, we have strategized, you're aware. What am I going to do? Am I going to post up in another country somewhere? Get your passport. I told people that a couple months ago. Get your passport. You need to be able to and willing to look at the world as a bigger world. And especially if you don't have much. Especially if you're like, man, my family been broke all our lives, man. We still broke. Then go be broke somewhere else.
Listen, go be broke where it's cheaper to live.
Thank you.
You might find that you actually done moved up to the middle class and you can go somewhere where it's cheaper to live. You went from broke to being all right. It's okay over here.
One plane ride changed your whole class.
There you go. And believe me, and I had this conversation with my daughter last night. Get your passport. If you don't have it, get your passport. The world is a big place, and I'm so grateful to God that the last 12 years of my life, I've really been able to see parts of the world that I never thought I would before. Go and stay in places that I've never even thought I wanted to go to. And then found out how beautiful life can be, how you can be in other parts of the world and feel like a full citizen, which we in America continue to fight for, that full inclusion in society, that safe feeling that you can get when you're amongst your own and when people have your best interests at heart. So,
yeah, and Curtis, Get Black with Me says, I don't know if there's any way to run to. That's that's American marketing.
Yeah.
That's corporate media marketing to us for decades upon decades. This is a huge world. They want us to think the United States is the world. There are tons of countries, tons of places where Black expats live. I mean, you see a video from Thailand, people who are in Thailand,
Right,
who are talking about how they live in Thailand for 1,000 US a month comfortably. The first people who should be moving are the people who have Social Security or a retirement account, a pension, some investment account, because you already have some type of cash flow. But if you have some savings, and you're seeing, man, I got 50 grand saved, 100 grand saved, you can go somewhere and live on 50 grand in some countries for 3 years, 5 years. Like the United States of America is just a very small part of the globe. And in fact, with one of the reasons why we like to cover global news after we go over some U.S. stuff, we always like to bring in what's happening on the continent of Africa, what's happening on the global geopolitical landscape, what are the Eastern powers doing? Is because these are the places where a lot of Black people are going. There are already Black people who are like, hey, yep, I'm out of here. I'm not going to go to South America. I'm not going to go to Mexico. I'm going east. I'm in the Philippines. I'm in Egypt. I'm in, we did a great show on the page, Hello Black America, with a 21-year-old, No Limit Eddie. He's 25 now. He moved from California to continent of Africa, Tanzania, and now he's been living full-time in Egypt for what? At least 3 years now, right, Curtis?
Right. Yeah.
And he said he just did a video. I saw it on his page. Shout out to No Limit Eddie. My $180 US a month apartment here in Egypt. 25-year-old, like $180 US. So if you have, I mean, that's part of why we're here. So I'm just telling you, part of why we're here is to show all of our audience some of these places, and not just show you, bring you people who are there already, so that we have boots on the ground, so we kind of know what we're going out with, we know what we're going into before we get out there. But for those of us who have been uncomfortable here, be uncomfortable somewhere else, because I think that discomfort here is about to move up to extreme discomfort, and that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, your point is well taken. Expats in Mexico, South America, Belize, Panama, of course, Italy. I've heard of a Black expat community. Certainly, some places even in Europe, and of course in Africa, on the continent, in several countries through the continent. So I hear what you're saying. Get Black with me, but there are places, even Caribbean countries, that are now, freed countries. They're no longer being run by the colonizers. So there are places that you can go, and we got the research. You got these little computers in your hand. You can do some research and figure out where it is where you can go. But even if you just have a passport, you can find that you can live in a place for a month or two at a time very reasonably, as if you were on vacation, as you just kind of check out these places and see what kind of feels right to you. So our only point, and we're not necessarily advocating everybody's not going to go. We talked a little about that. Everybody's not going to do that. But we don't want you to limit your options. America is not the only game in town, is basically what we're saying now. And you've just got to be prepared to, if some of those other options become available, or if it gets too hot in the kitchen, you might have to get out, at least even for some time. So that's all we're saying there. Now, just wanted to get your thoughts on, there's a lot of stuff in the news, and we, as you should, I guess, always kind of over prepare for what we want to talk about. But I'd love to get your thoughts on a couple quick things here, and we can just kind of go rapid fire through some of these and see what you're thinking. There was a big hubbub this week about Jackie Robinson. Did you hear the military service of Jackie Robinson being removed from the Department of Defense webpage. Jackie Robinson, for those who don't know, is best known for being the person that integrated baseball. I think it was 1947, when, obviously before that time they had the Negro leagues, and then you had the regular baseball teams. They didn't have to call it the white leagues because they just were white. But and of course, America, this being the American pastime, baseball, it was a big deal. But also part of Jackie Robinson's story was the fact that he served our country honorably as a part of the military. And it just seemed like such a slap in the face for a person that served the country honorably, who subjected himself to ridicule, to harassment, to violent language and violent threats, to do that without reacting and to integrate the sport and open it up for the opportunity for Black Americans to now play this sport. And to have that his military service kind of diminished was problematic. Now, I do want to be clear here, and my understanding is that as of today, the Department of Defense has kind of reversed that, and I guess they are saying now that Jackie Robinson's information is going to be re-put back up there. But again, what's the message that it's stating that you even thought this was okay to go ahead and remove the Jackie Robinson information about his military service? Any thoughts about that real quick?
Didn't they do that something similar with the Tuskegee Airmen?
Yes. Yes.
So they're not going to teach or basically give any spotlight on that history.
Not just them, and not just Tuskegee Airmen. The what they call them, the code. What are they called? They made a movie about them. The Navajo code talkers, I think, that they in World War II. These were Native Americans that helped them decrypt the Japanese communications. Their stuff was taken off, and this
is the DOD says it mistakenly removed.
Yeah,
Jackie Robinson, other content from website amid DEI purge. First of all, I'm somebody who I work with websites. Before you delete something on a website, there's multiple places you need to go to. It's not just one button. I hit the wrong button by accident.
Everybody said, "Are you sure you want to do this?"
That's right.
No, are you absolutely positive that you
look? This can't be undone. Yes,
do it anyway.
Sure. Matter of fact, some will say you have to type the word delete. So spare us this. You're not like I personally, I see what it is, and in my opinion, let's go. We on our own. It's us and God. Whatever we gonna build, it's always been that way. But now, we said something earlier. We're not even trying to hide it. You are on your own. Do what you're gonna do. No help. No, it's almost like you don't even exist in our eyes. We're trying to wipe your existence away from, because for us, it's our agenda. And if you don't have your own agenda, you will always be at the mercy of someone who does. So that's why every day you should be focused on what is the agenda that I'm doing for me first, my household, and then if God puts you in that position, your people or maybe your community, who can I affect in terms of an agenda? Because these guys have an agenda. And I think what they are looking at potentially is what we want this country to look like 2 generations from now. We want to wipe the stains off of what we, know to be true. Because yes, we got to deal with all of this crap now about what y'all saying about woke. Our country was a woke country, and then they did this, and they tried to get rights for everybody, and then they had men that wanted to be women and all of that. But 75 years from now, we don't want our kids, we don't want we don't want our great grandkids to even know this ever happened. We don't ever want our great grandkids to even know that there were black people here, that, you know, all of this stuff. And if we can control the media, which is what it seems that they're doing, wiping stuff away from website, making businesses wipe stuff away from website, then yeah, those of us who are here right now, we're like, oh, we see what you're doing. But 2 generations down the road, they'll never know this stuff was ever actually here to begin with.
Well,
that's what I see. That's just my thoughts. What are you thinking?
And I do agree that there is a fear of history, which in this country, which actually just goes back to a fear of accountability. And, you know, nobody wants to be like, yeah, my ancestors, the funny thing about this is that I'm not going to say all, but the reaction that you're seeing from from white America is interesting, because it seems that white Americans are en masse upset that they are being put into the category of the enslavers or those that mistreated blacks in this country. Mm-hmm. But there were maybe even an equal amount of people who were abolitionists, who thought that slavery was wrong, who fought alongside, in some cases, blacks who were seeking their rights or assisted them. That not all the stops on the Underground Railroad were in fact, most of them were not black establishments. There were white folks that were in that fight with us.
Yeah.
So
watch the movie Harriet. Great movie. If you
exactly.
Great movie. So, but even when we look at how many people voted for President Trump versus Kamala, you got 38% of white men voted for Kamala. You got almost half, 47 or something like that % of white women voted for Kamala Harris. So that's to your point, you know, like, but there seems to be a group of people who would rather erase the painful history of America, the history we call that's Black America, that black part of America, that dark side of America, is what they want to erase and act like, well, let's just 50 years from now, can we create a world or create a country where our great grandkids don't have to hear that this stuff ever happened, and maybe they'll, you know, I mean, the books, there'll be no books. Let's get rid of the books. This is all whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
and look, Get Back With Me said the Democrats will put it back up there.
I wanted to address that because, you know,
talking about Jackie Robinson's or any black.
Oh, okay. If they're just talking about the Jackie Robinson piece, I mean, I get it. The websites and all that sort of thing can be put back relatively easily. But I want to draw a parallel to what we talked about at the beginning of the show when you were talking about really black wealth over time. They're trying to make it so that the things that are being done now is, you realize, it's undoing 60 to 70 to 80 years of precedent. They are setting us back decades. And I don't think that's something that can be put back together necessarily in just 4 years. Some of the superficial stuff can happen, but they are really systematically trying to dismantle things that literally took decades for us to put in place, and they've done it in an 8-week period. So protract that out for another 4 months or so. In 6 months, imagine where we could be and the amount of damage that could be done.
We're still in the first 100 days.
Exactly.
We are 8 weeks in, which is, call it, 56 days. Call it less. We're 60 days in, something like that.
Right.
This man has so much time, and now the democracy being under fire. You said something, Get Black With Me. Because they need to uphold this notion of democracy, they will always need non-whites to decide elections. So the history ain't going nowhere.
47 said we wouldn't have no more elections, didn't he?
Y'all remember this?
To save America, get your friends, get your family, get everyone you know, and vote. Vote early, vote absentee, vote on election day. I don't care how, but you have to get out and vote. And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time.
What does he mean by that?
Just this time. You won't have to do it anymore.
You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years. You know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't
It'll
have
be
to
fixed, all right.
My beautiful Christians. I love you, Christian.
What do you mean? It's though. I think we've seen our last election here in the United States.
Listen,
I think we have seen. When you look at the consolidate. First of all, you already have people in his establishment proposing a third Trump term, taking the steps necessary that they would need to amend the Constitution. They actually have a clause in there to prevent President Barack Obama from being able to run a third term. Basically, they've set him up to be able, and Steve Bannon, Steve Bannon talks about, these are constitutionalists, so-called constitutionalists, that says, hold on, I don't want to play this whole clip, but can we get something?
You are second on the list after the VP as people getting the nod at CPAC to be president. A lot of people were surprised by this. My first question.
This is Steve Bannon. If you don't know, I think he ran Breitbart Media. It's one of the most right-wing people. Trump's boy did some time for Trump in jail, everything.
You have anything to do with putting your name in that list because you have presidential ambitions?
No. And President Trump, I'm a firm believer that President Trump will run and win again in 2028. So I've already endorsed President Trump.
So we now are perfectly fine. The most loyal MAGA members are perfectly fine with the third Trump term. They're perfectly fine with changing the Constitution so that he's president again. And if they don't, and if they can, so if we put this together again, I don't look, I let everybody got their opinion of President Trump. I don't think he's a stupid guy. You can, I'm not asking you to come. I'm just saying for me, I see Get Black with me. Hey, the guys are all of that. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. I think we've seen the last election in the United States. However it's going to come, I don't know. I can't tell you that. But that you won't have to vote again sounded very, very calculated to where this is the last election. And he has his people who are co-signing him not leaving. We got a king now. You're the king of the United States.
You and I will have to agree to disagree about his intellectual capacity. I think that he is a person that is being, I really do think he's being manipulated. I think that there are some very smart people that are behind him that they see the same thing that you and I see, is that this is I won't say that because he still holds the office of the presidency, but he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer as far as, so they see this. You think Elon Musk saw the fact that this is a guy that if I put a little money in his pocket, I can pretty much do with him as I please. You don't think Elon Musk saw the value of that $300 million investment? He's reaping the benefit of that, because if this guy was so bright, and in fact, I had this thought earlier when we were talking about him bringing Elon into the military briefing, to me, Trump is giving that he needs somebody there by his side. He's sitting in the White House with Zelensky, with the vice president and the Secretary of State and a whole bunch of other people when they attacked Zelensky a few weeks back. I've never seen, I won't say never, but it's very rare to see a president in the Oval Office surrounded by all these people, the vice president, his secretary. It's usually the president and the leader. You know, there may be other people in the room as is the support staff, but they're not actively involved in the conversation. They're just there.
But we never had cameras on.
These are guardrails.
Been this much transparency. We've never had cameras on in a lot of these. It's like he's doing. You know, there's a saying, when you do it like you're doing it for TV,
right?
Like he has cameras on in the cabinet meetings, we never saw President Obama's cabinet meetings, right, or President Biden's, meetings with, Kim Jong-un or anything like that. How do we know? How do we know that this is not how it goes? Because we've always just saw the leader, yes, when it's time to report to the state what's happening. But go ahead. You think so? Question: why would all of these people be scared of him if they're the ones really in control?
I don't know that people are scared of him. I mean, I don't know that the
you don't think people are scared of President Trump?
I don't think that the people that support him are scared of. They're not scared of him. I don't think they're scared of him. They like it. This is all what they were hoping for.
Rudy Giuliani is broke. he said, I ran out of money. And that's before President Trump had this type of unchecked power. Listen, look. Here's what I'm saying. Here's my question to everybody watching, and you as well, Curtis. Do we think that the United States, up until now, has had a pretty good justice system?
Huh?
As far as, if I'm talking about shadow government, like somebody who, have we ever seen one man who could evade the justice system the way he has, as well as sway public opinion the way he has, destabilize nations for his, and again, so if we're talking 6 months from now, let's just say 6 months from now, he's taking Canada. 6 months from now, Panama Canal is U.S. territory, Greenland's U.S. territory. He's still a stupid guy?
Listen, if he pulls this off, he probably is a genius. If he can pull this off. I don't know that he can do it.
Crazy and a genius. Go ahead.
And listen, there's such a thing as an evil genius, right? There are people who don't have the best interests of people at heart who have this evil genius. They're called psychopaths, I think. And there are millions. If you do studies, there are studies that show that psychopaths, a lot of them are CEOs of these large countries. The things that make you a psychopath are also the things that can potentially make you a good CEO. How many of our companies' corporate leaders are actually psychopathic people? So, yeah, he might be. It might work itself out for him, but that doesn't make him any less evil in my mind. The stuff that's going on, the way he's doing this belies any Christian values or anything. He's always talking about, even that clip that you played when he's talking to the Christians. This man, I bet he can't spell Christian. I swear to you, I bet he can't.
So,
but anyway.
Get Black with me said, look up Roger Ailes.
Roger Ailes. She's talking about Roger Ailes. And again, another example. Thank you, Get Back Black with me. Another example of this kind of psychopathic leader.
Tell us about him. I'm not familiar with him.
I think he's I don't know a whole lot. I know the name. He's in the media, if I'm not mistaken. But he was a large, I wasn't prepared to talk about Roger Ailes today.
Well, I got some stuff up on the screen about him.
TV exec. Yeah.
How Fox News is Roger Ailes stole Tony Tin Broadway music mother. Hold on. How Fox News women took down Roger Ailes. Roger Ailes, who built Fox News into an empire, died. Wait, hold on. Get Black Women giving us some more context. He taught the Republican Party how to lie with a straight face.
Yeah.
First, you have to do these things, I say. The twisted game of mind control. Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, he was the head of Fox. He started the whole Fox thing.
So,
go ahead.
Well, it seems like it definitely seems as the Republican Party is playing a bit of a different game than the Democratic Party. They've taken, the Democratic Party seems to still have gloves on. It's a fair fight. Come on, let's go and fight.
Well, the problem is that the Democratic Party is treating this as if this Republican Party is the Republican Party of the past.
Sure, and this ain't George Bush. Mm-hmm.
This is not Ronald Reagan's Republican Party, right?
This might not even be a Republican Party at all.
This party is, the MAGA movement is different. And these folks are trying to dismantle the United States. They're trying to dismantle it so that they can steal it and take it and sell it for parts. These are people that are trying to take advantage of the chaos so that they can figure out different ways to make some more money. And that's where the bottom line is.
You remember Get Rich or Die Trying, 50 Cent?
Yeah.
So he had a line in the early part of the song. He said, "I ain't a blood or a Crip. I started my own gang." And that is very MAGA because I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm really not either one.
Right.
I started my own gang because I've now poached from the Democratic Party because I used to be one. I'm talking as far as Trump's perspective. Now you got Elon, who used to be a Democrat. These are so-called. Now, all of a sudden, we're the.
So did Trump.
Yeah, what'd you say?
Trump used to be a Democrat his whole life.
Yeah, so they both did. Right. And so now we've gone to the other side, but we're not really the other side either. We take who we want from both sides, and we got our own base of people. And you're right, because when you say this is not the Republican part, I remember George Bush. I was young. I was in high school at the time when George Bush Jr. was in office. I just got out of high school, but I don't remember things being anywhere. This just seems incredibly different than just a normal Republican in office.
Let me just share a quick story. When Reagan was in office, now I remember Nixon, I remember Ford, Carter, but Reagan was the first year that I was eligible to vote. I turned 18, 1983, I guess. Whoa. So the first vote that I was eligible was 1984. Now, I was in college, and I went to a college where there were a bunch of rich folks, frankly, rich white folks mostly. And I had in my mind an idea of my vision for my future. I was going to make a lot of money in the business world and that sort of thing. So the first vote that I ever cast in a presidential election was for Ronald Reagan. I didn't know any better. My family's not a big political family. I don't know that I ever heard my parents say whether they were Democrats, Republicans. I assume they were Democratic most of the time, but it wasn't like we talked about it. So in my 19-year-old mind, thinking of where my future was going, I'm looking at the talk about Ronald Reagan, and I'm bought into it without any kind of guidance. Now, that was probably the last time that I voted for a Republican in a general election like that. But it just showed where my mindset was at that point. And what I saw in the Republican Party at that point, in my 19-year-old self, I don't see any resemblances of that in the 2025 version of what the Republican Party is. And the Democratic Party is making a mistake, I believe, by dealing with these folks as if they actually have just a difference of opinion about how things should be done. It's not that. It's a completely different thing now. So yeah,
difference is and it's a different set of rules. Which Get Black With Me just said. No one on the Trump side has a good understanding of the rules of engagement. That's why they're bound to lose. Now, what does losing look like? Because when you look at the rules, it seems the Democratic Party, if Trump and his team is bound to lose, you mean lose on the world stage? Because I don't see the Democratic Party putting up a fight to, I mean, who's the next candidate? Like Kamala Harris. Usually when you lose an election and it's, yay, let's rally up again. We're going at it again. We're just bowed out. We're done. Especially when you see, like, okay, midterms will be coming up in another, 2 years, just under 2 years. I don't see a fight that looks like you said, Curtis. You don't know the stakes. It's kind of like you're fighting like this is just a normal fight when this is a fight to the death.
Right.
You're out here just boxing a little. Meanwhile, the other person's like, I'm gonna kill you. Remember Rocky? Remember Dolph Lundgren and big tall Russian in Rocky? Apollo Creed came out. Hey, all right, make it a good fight. I will break you. He killed him. So this was a man who didn't. That's where the Democratic Party, like, y'all gotta realize, man, you better pull every stop out you have at this point, or you're done.
This is not a fair fight. This is not a fair fight. I was watching something on television the other night, and and the guy pulled out a sword, and he was all blah 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 blah. And the next thing you know, the guy pulled out a gun. Boom! I'm like, oh, I guess he brought a sword to a gunfight. Somebody should have told him. And I kind of feel like that's where we are now, with a sword at a gunfight. But anyway,
a couple great comments. I think the TV show Scandal helped put into perspective how the system works. Great show, very accurate. And but I think we have a take. Even when you said that what the traditional Republican Party was, small government, y'all do your thing. We have government influencing businesses. So we have government influencing education.
Or do we have businesses influencing government? I'm not sure which is which right now.
Well, businessmen now run the government, and they're using that government to influence business. And, so it's,
They're hand in hand now. They're working.
They're hand in hand. So businessmen run the government. And the people, we want them to run the government like a business. Well, you got a bunch of businessmen and billionaires who now are making all the decisions for the government. And, the interest, what we're seeing is the consolidation of government. And if we're going to just create better laws for business, that would be a thing. I don't have a problem with that. Let's create better laws for business so we can create more jobs in manufacturing. But when we're seeing it spill over to, wait a minute, you're forcing me. Hold on. Check this out. Because this came up yesterday. They fired the CEO of Ben & Jerry's. Ben & Jerry's has been very, very, very adamant on, y'all stay over there. We gonna keep doing what we doing. We for everybody. We sell ice cream. We want our ice cream to make people happy. We with the culture. We with whoever you want to be. That's what Ben & Jerry's has been. And my daughter, we talk about how much we eat Ben & Jerry's, and it's just a little bit more pleasurable when you know that the ice cream you're eating is made by a company that values you.
Right.
They fire this guy. And the parent company, Unilever, and it's a whole upward. This is just within the past couple of days. And you say to yourself, wait a minute. I get that y'all want to scrub DEI from your policies, companies. That's your choice. But shouldn't we, as private corporations, have the power to not do that? So now the so-called Republican Party, which is small government, do your thing. We're for the businessman. We're not okay with you not aligning with our DEI policies. So now the hypocrisy is crazy. The hypocrisy is crazy. We have the party who wanted small government now influencing both private corporations and private citizens' behavior. It's Whew.
Listen, and we're seeing some of these corporate entities kind of like even Target. You know, we've had this boycott of Target going on for a while, but they're kind of doubling down on it now, even though they are seeing a loss in their stock price and it's being an impact. But now the discussion was at one point was because Target removed their DEI, we want to boycott them, but we wanted to figure out a way to support the Black brands that they still had in their stores. Now they're doubling down and they're removing some of those Black brands, even though they're seeing a significant downtick in their revenue and their profits. They are kind of doubling down and saying, yeah, well, we're still going to be down with this anti-DEI thing. Now, the only thing you can hope, and this is an analogy or parallel that you can draw to the country as a whole. You remember Woolworths, the store?
Yeah.
Are you old enough to remember what Woolworths were?
Yeah, we had a Woolworths on Main Street in East Orange.
There you
Absolutely.
go. Or Sears, of course, Sears and Roebuck, one of the pivotal corporate entities, retail industries of our country. Those places are gone now, right?
Yeah.
Because they didn't adapt. They didn't adapt to the changes in the society, the way consumers were needing to have their needs met. We're going to start seeing companies, maybe like Target, they may go to ways of Two Guys or Woolworths or Bambergers or all those stores that I remember as a young person. You don't see them anymore. And I don't know, if they don't start listening to the consumer, the people that have supported them through time, they may find out the hard way. We talk about, you people here talking about the FAFO, and you want to fool around and find out. They're going to probably fool around and find out. And the reason I made the point that this draws a parallel with the larger country is because we tend to beat our chest as America and think how great America is without realizing there have been societies that were stronger and more powerful even than America that also failed eventually. So if we think that it's out of the realm of possibility, or even think that the odds are stacked against it happening, the odds are that at some point America as a country will cease to exist in its current form, because history has proven over and over and over again that these empires will over time fail. And America is an experiment in democracy that has never been happened on this scale before. And we're starting to see the cracks in that. And if you're not thinking in terms of this could be the beginning of the demise of this country, depending on which way it goes, then you're not really paying attention to history and don't understand the way history works.
Let's take you just made me pull up the Roman Empire. So you can look at the Roman Empire, which is the biggest empire ever. The saying about the Roman Empire was the sun. No, that was the British Empire. The sun never sets on the British Empire.
Right.
So if we look and say, even let's go there, because you can see why the Roman Empire fall: political instability and corruption. We got a little bit of that. We got a little bit of that here.
A little bit.
Economic decline. We're having a little bit of that.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, a little bit of that.
A little bit.
Eggs are still $9-10. Which is why I kept your comment up, Get Black With Me, because you said the majority of MAGA people are low income folks. And that's very interesting, because you know what it's like I said, I know as Black people, we know what it's like to struggle. Right. So we're actually okay, if necessary, if things get tight. We can actually endure more than other races because we've endured. We don't come from money. We don't come from being extra comfortable. So when you look at, I didn't think about that in terms of the MAGA folks. There's a group of white people out there and they wear the same overalls 6 times a week, don't wash them, go out, got 8 chickens in the back, chickens is dirty, don't wash them, 2 of them died this week, it's just backyard, that type pit farmer. We never saw these people.
Well,
they're actually okay with the economic conditions, and I want you to remember your thought, because I'm wondering, Curtis, when are the white people going to start speaking out about the economic pinch we're feeling, this economic decline? Because I can see it hurting. We can see that things that, corporate greed is out of control, cars are out of control, houses are out of control, groceries are out of control, gas at some point out of control. But if there's a group of white people that are low income that have struggled and they are now a big part of the MAGA base, maybe they're like, well, we never really had money to begin with. So, that's just something that came to mind when I saw her comment. Go ahead.
Well, I made that point. I don't know. I think it was last week. You weren't here. I did the show alone. And I made that point and actually relayed a story of my conversation with a MAGA supporter, basically tell them, you can never stay in a Trump property, right? You can't afford to stay in a Trump property. He doesn't care about you as a person. And to her point is to the point that was made by Get Black With Me, that that most of his supporters are poor folks. There is a significant part of his support base that are those folks, those are rural people, the stereotypical things that you think of. They're living in trailer parks or mobile home parks. They got the holes in the pickup truck.
Missing cousins.
Like you said, the overall, the whole, any kind of thing that you can think of. But what he also has is a very small group of very, very, very ultra wealthy supporters who are really what's backing him and providing the support. He just needed to hoodwink enough people in those rural communities to think that he's on their side when he couldn't care less about them, the price of their eggs, or anything that affects them. He is a prevaricator. Look up the word. Somebody said what it is. He is a prevaricator. That means he is a liar. He is a liar. And that's what he does, is lies. And so,
well, you tend to call him a little liar more than me. I think he's very, very forthcoming, man. I think he is very. Look, I think he says some things absolutely that we have checked him on, because me, I'm about let's make a deal. So I don't want to. And look, you can stand outside, because the day, God willing, we meet with the man, I want to be, I know. Curtis, they might not let you in. And
they probably won't let me.
I want you to be, hey, listen, this is my brother. You know us both, right? Yeah, no, we see how he says he doesn't like him. Yeah. So I want you to be in there with me. So, but we can understand, because we want to make a deal with President Trump. And the fact is, if the deal to leave the country, okay, is the best deal that Black America could make. And because I'm telling you, where my mind is, y'all can have it. Because I was just in Jamaica last week when you did the show. I was in the audience commenting, and I'm looking, y'all, and this is the land where my DNA is. Now, I don't know where your DNA is. I don't, as far as, those watching, Get Black With Me. But But when I'm in Jamaica and I see that, wow, there's huge opportunity out here. My father's in Cameroon and Nigeria, and I see there's wealthy Nigerians but they still need the diaspora. They still need us to come back and say, hey, listen, we could do more together. The lies about they don't want us in Africa, that's propaganda.
Right.
You go just pull up YouTube videos by a bunch of creators on the continent, and they'll tell you that's been propaganda. There's content creators saying, there's governments that are saying, yo, diaspora, they lied to y'all. We are going to make it national news. We want you to come back. So we will offer you citizenship. We'll make it very easy for you to become a citizen. Like, you know, so, but when it comes to the president, I think he is absolutely rallying for the people who are the most important to him, which are the rich.
Right.
And if you can be patient enough to become rich with him, then great. If that's going to trickle down, if you start a business in this and then we end up with you and you're in our crowd, great, because we made tax laws for you to make it easy to start a business. But if you are, you know, we feel the pain right now of tariffing other lands that we know are going to create that immediately, you know, a Honda Civic that was coming across the border, that was $25,000. A Honda Civic that was coming across, if it's being built at a plant in Canada and it's coming across the border, that $25,000 Honda Civic is now $31,000. No two ways about it. It's almost $7,000 more for the same exact car. So this is what we pay. That dealership, when you go and say, hey, I just wanted that Honda Civic, used to be 25, next month it's 31. This hurts us. In the long run, it's like, oh, we're going to bring those plants back to the United States, though. So there's going to be about 2 or 3 years of extreme pain for you guys, where you can't afford a house, you can't afford a car, you can't afford groceries. But that's the grand scheme of things, because the deals and everything that these old governments did was so bad, the finances was so bad, countries was going to go bankrupt. The United States wouldn't be here financially if we didn't do this. And that's the way he's selling it. So I hate what a lot of what's happening to the middle, to anyone not rich in this country right now. I hate what is happening to anyone not rich. And but what we have to do is what's our plan? We can sit here all day and we can report to you, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. You guys see they're setting up a country for the rich. You see the rich is getting richer. You see we talked about this yesterday, Curtis, on how do we know the rich people who have billions to move in the stock market didn't know, hey, you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to announce tariffs. Oh, the stock market's going to crash. Okay, perfect. And then they make their move, sell, they short the market where they bet on it going down. So if you short the market, you bet on it going down. But if your boy who runs the country said, hey, yep, tomorrow we're making the announcement. And then, okay, everybody made their money. All right, you know what? Tariffs pause for another 30 days. Market goes back. So we buy low. This is all things that is the rich killing the poor, killing them. Or I'm not going to say I'm poor. I'm talking about anyone who's not rich. So what do we do now? And that's why it's like, we're not going to sit here and just give you the news without saying you should be looking for other places. Like Curtis said, you should be getting your passport. You might have said, yo, I never thought about leaving the United States before. I never thought about visiting other places before. Neither have me and Curtis on this level.
Right.
Everything else has been a vacation.
Right.
Hey, we're going to vacation in South Africa. We're going to vacation over here. And then we're coming back to America. This is the first time in our lives, because of what we see, that we believe that the smartest thing we can do for ourselves and our family is to have another place, a fallback plan of some sort. And as Curtis said, if you don't see these things and are taking some level of preparation for them, we think that's a very dangerous position. Anything you want to add to that, Curtis? Or you know?
No, that's a very good synopsis. We could talk about this for you and I have the ability to kind of talk about these things for a long period of time, but it's troubling, and the point that keeps going through my mind is, and this is the thing that the powers that be want to avoid at all cost, is that those people that you were just talking about, those white Americans who aren't wealthy, understanding that they have more in common with those black folks and those brown folks who also are not rich. They have more in common with those people. And if they were to come together across that, if they could get past that racial thing, and this is exactly what it was set up for, is to keep us, white and black America, divided so that we wouldn't understand that the true enemy or the true battle is about wealth and resources versus lack of wealth and access to resources. That's the battle. And it always has been the battle, but the powers that be made up this thing about there is one race. There is only one race. And it's funny to me, I just filled out my census in the 2020. You know, they ask you for your race. I put human. I wrote in human. I checked out other and wrote human, because there is but one race. But because they wanted to be put a division amongst people that keeps them divided, so that the 1 to 10% that controls all the resources can continue to control those resources unabated. They want to keep us fighting with each other about scraps while they continue to rake it in at the top, because we're fighting about scraps and they're getting the whole thing. That's where this battle is. That's what we need to come to terms with. And until we do, we're going to have these constant little squabbles that come up, because we never recognize the real enemy is those who wish to keep us subjected to low wages, to inequity, to lack of wealth and lack of resources, so that they can continue to enjoy those things. It's unabated capitalism.
And we know that that's the United States system.
Absolutely.
We know that that's the United States system. So,
we know it because we built this country on the enslavement of others, doing free labor.
Listen, the United States has no problem with you, Get Black With Me, Cyber Lady, anybody watching being wealthy. Me, Curtis, independently wealthy. The United States has no problem with that.
Absolutely.
The problem is when you look around your neighborhood, your community, as a people, if you begin to get wealthy as a people, that is what they're going to protect against, because the capitalistic system is run by people who just for some reason that doesn't match. They can't coexist with a lot of people having money and being comfortable and them, which is why we wonder, how could you have $80 billion? We remember Tupac saying, "Hey man, you need 8 mansions. Can't you just have one?" Yeah. Why does a person have $80 billion and there's people who don't have shoes?
Right.
It's a great question. And when you look at how the government's been run, and this is why I think Get Black With Me, she's not a super fan of the Democratic Party. When we look at both Republicans and Democrats before this MAGA movement, we've had several decades to get this right, and you continually didn't get it right. You could have invested in your people, but you sold out to capitalism. We had senators and congresspeople making back deal doors with lobbyists. That's why when a President Trump comes and says, "Hey, you can't tell me nothing. I gave you money. I bought you. And you can't say anything because you were dirty." And you just didn't expect the system to get flipped on you as quick as it did. The system got flipped. The House wasn't in order. And the Democratic Party and what used to be the Republican Party seemed to have no answers, because you were in power for so long. back and forth, back and forth. And there's been times where with Barack Obama, where he had the Senate and the Congress and the Supreme Court. He made Obamacare, and then they made sure for the midterms, he lost part of that and he couldn't move the way he wanted to move. But he had big plans on what he wanted to do. But there was congressmen and senators who said, we're not gonna support anything he does. So whatever, you have Republican presidents, and they just ran out of time. In my opinion, they ran out of time. You had the seat, you had the power, you didn't get it done. And now you got a person who's in here saying, look, you had your shot, it's my time now, and I'm tearing everything down. I'm starting totally from scratch. Everything that y'all built, I'm starting it from scratch. I'm tearing it down. I don't care about it. Cry to your mother. And
oh boy.
I say, hey, the enemy of the Western society is empathy. So these are people who wait, do you see all these people struggling? So if this is a man who is right hand to the president, has just as much power and authority as the president, and he said the problem we have in America and Western society is empathy, these men don't have hearts.
Right.
They're not thinking the way all of us will be thinking, and we just got to deal with what is. Yeah. America created these guys. The old politicians created these guys, and whatever.
I will agree with what Get Black with Me is saying, that the Democratic and the Republican parties are really two sides of the same coin. Capitalism drives them both. Both of them are driven by capitalism. The Republicans are a little more in your face with it. They don't really care what you think. The Democrats try and feign as if they really are, the softer, gentler, kinder. But they're just doing the same thing, just using different tactics. So I agree with Get Black with Me that they are the same thing. But not the problem, but the issue is this, is that we see these people as like they're our friends. Like we have to like these politicians. Politicians are they're a tool. They're about the controlling of resources for our communities. We want our roads to be fixed. We want our bridges to work and not collapse. We want to send our kids to good schools. So the politics is an agreement. I give you my vote in exchange for you fighting for the resources that me and my community need. And if that's not the kind of exchange that you have, then you need to vote those people out and get somebody in there that understands the transactional nature of politics. Is that I vote you in so that you can get the resources that my community needs for us to grow and live and be the best version of ourselves. And until we get to that understanding about what politics is, you don't have to like the politician. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to, there's a lot of things that don't have to go right for them. They just have to be committed to fighting for the needs of the majority of their constituents and the people that they serve. Politics is a service organization, just like the ministry. I didn't want to get into that too much, but it's just like the ministry. We tend to elevate these people into the status of gods when they are servants. They are people that serve the people. And until we get that understanding correct, we're going to continue to be hoodwinked as we have been.
And we'll continually reinforce the action behind what we're talking about, because if we don't come back to the action, then it just seems as if we're no better than the people sowing fear and sowing discord. Or we're not here. We want to make a case for why everything we should be doing should be to diversify. When again, Jamaica has incredible opportunities, for investment. Like the places here has incredible opportunities for investment. Where are our leaders, which is partially why we started Hello Black America, is to identify the leaders who are going to bring the ideas that we need to act on. We had a bunch of them 70 years ago. You could throw out Fannie Lou Hamer and Malcolm X. You could sit at any meeting depending on where you wanted to get on a plane and fly to. I'm going to Chicago and I'm going to sit down with this group of people. I'm going to fly to DC and I'm going to sit with them, and I'm going to be in New York and Harlem and meet with them, and we go down to Alabama and I'm going to march with these guys down here. But they weren't just there. They were actually, implementing plans, and you got a lot of people people were willing to die for them. We need to be praying that God raise up leaders. For me, all I want to see us doing is investing into companies and not anything else. We need to be putting our money where we can get returns on it and building businesses. There are tons of Black geniuses right now, Black companies. Slutty Vegan, I think Slutty Vegan sold her company, if I'm not mistaken. And if she sold a company for $100 million, Black hair care. Why are we selling our companies to white private equity firms? Because we have yet to create Black equity firms where it's Black money going into Black companies. These things are not hard to do. They already exist. And that's where white people have tried to keep us out of. White people have tried to keep us out of knowing where to put our money so that we can build things. As long as we have these conversations about pooling money, we're doing exactly what they want us to. Yeah, keep talking about pooling money, y'all, but don't talk about buying shares in companies and building those things up around you guys so that you guys own it. Go ahead, Curtis.
Now, I agree with you 100%, but kind of a caveat that I've kind of come to in the last few days, I would love to see us investing in, for example, I think you made this point that the cocoa on the continent of Africa, cocoa is a major natural resource that gets exported out to, say, Switzerland. They make chocolate and sell it back to those African countries. I would love to see Black America get involved in bringing some of our expertise back to the continent to build and invest in processing plants to turn that natural resource into an end product that can be sold all within all in the same continent, or at least, maybe even the same country. So if you've got a country in Africa that exports cocoa, instead of exporting all of the cocoa, why don't we invest in processing plants that will bring jobs to that African nation, that will allow them to take the natural resource and build it into a commodity that can be sold on the open market? So why are we exporting the resources only to have to buy back those products as an end user? It doesn't, to me, that doesn't make sense. Why don't we just keep everything in the same house and you process it here, you mine it here, you process it here, and then you sell it to the end user on your own. So I would love to see Black America investing in that sort of thing in the continent.
That would be like you growing, or get back with me, you growing sweet potatoes, and then you come, so give me your sweet potatoes, and I go and package them up and sell you back candied yams,
right,
in a can,
right.
Here, pay me $3 for that, and you do it. It's like you should be developing that, and that is where we should be putting our money, into developing the businesses. To, even if you're not there, you could sit here in America all you want, that's fine, but we should be, and this is what I was hoping we could talk to Black Project 2025 and Aniyah Holloway about before this came to an end, is create. We already had a strong network of 50,000 people, however many was in the Discord group. All we needed to do was create the pipeline to pitch. You should be what my dream is, and it's where we can look all day and you see a Black Shark Tank, where all day long it's just companies from all around the world that are pitching Black America. They're not pitching the sharks, they're pitching Black America, the diaspora, anyone on the continent, say, hey, we're building a manufacturing company for tomatoes, for cocoa, for sugarcane. Here, and there's multiple companies. We're building a construction company here. We're investing in a beachfront resort in Ghana. All of that money is being raised by us. That's when we're putting our money as a community into a place where we're going to get a return. That's building our communities on a global level, though, not on a city level.
Absolutely. Well, I
we went a little long today.
A little bit, and the sad thing, if you will, is that there's still so much more that we could have talked about. I mean, I've got at least another 2-3 pages of stuff there that we didn't even touch on. We didn't even get to the light stuff. We dealt with some of the heavier stuff, but we didn't get to none of the light stories. But I think that we made covered some valuable ground today. Talked about some things that I think really we need to be aware of as Black America. Get Black With Me is giving us some homework here, telling us to go check this book out, Up Out of Poverty, by the PDF version.
Is that the president of China?
Don't make me lie. I don't know. Xi Jinping. I'm not even sure how to pronounce that. As if it's but okay.
She always recommends some great books. She recommended 2 books today. The Selling of the President. The Selling of the President by Joe McGinnis.
Oh yeah, I did see that earlier. Joe McGinnis, was that?
Joe McGinnis.
Okay.
And this one, Up and Out of Poverty. And I'm wondering, so that's the president of China, because she said, which I agree with 100%. In my opinion, she said, in my opinion, one of the things the West is afraid of is the example that she and China is showing the world, which is an alternative to Western capitalism. I agree with you 100%, because they've regulated these capital markets so well to protect Wall Street and the investment banks and the Goldman Sachs, the Merrill Lynches of the world. Like, there's so many regulations of who can pitch the public, how much the public can invest into these private companies. So it keeps the private equity firms and these Wall Street bankers, they really have a monopoly on investing in the businesses early. And by the time we get to invest in them, they're on the public stock market, and we might get 8 or 6% returns. And we take all the risk. We take all the risk when the stock goes up, down. Meanwhile, they're investing in some of these, petrol companies early, tech companies early, Airbnb. It always makes me laugh when people say, if you had invested just $1,000 with Jeff Bezos when he was forming Amazon, that $1,000 would now be worth $200 million. Well, when did we have a chance to invest $1,000 with Jeff Bezos?
Right.
We never had that opportunity because Jeff Bezos couldn't pitch the public. He couldn't say, guys, I need $200,000 to start Amazon. He couldn't pitch the public. He had to go to his family and his friends and his, and they went, Peter Thiel gave Mark Zuckerberg the first $500,000 investment into Facebook. He was already rich. This is the Silicon Valley network. So now Peter Thiel is extremely wealthy because of that extremely wealthier because of that $500,000 investment into Facebook. Well, what if Mark Zuckerberg could have went to the public and said, hey, public, I'm going to raise $500,000, and instead of giving Peter Thiel, one man and his company, X percentage of Facebook, I'm going to give it to you guys. These are the things we don't have in America because they've regulated it. And that is this Western capitalistic system, Get Black With Me, that you're saying. America is absolutely afraid to see any alternative to that start to become popular because no one's going to use this crap anymore.
Right. There is so much that's going on that we need to be aware of. The fact of the matter is that there are people who are that are only out for themselves, right? We talked about the game of accumulation on an episode of Hello Black America, and we are seeing it play out. Get Black With Me calls it a bastardization of capitalism, And that is exactly true. It's like it's a sprint to get as wealthy as you can. How much of this money can you actually spend? I mean, we have it so screwed up that we don't want to help our fellow people. I think you made the statement that the shadow president has enough money that he could end homelessness, for example, in America today, with the stroke of a pen, write one check, he could really eliminate homelessness or hunger, or any number of the issues that plague humanity. He could probably end it on his own for any number of things. And there's several of those types of people that exist in the world that could, if they had a heart for it. And this touches me every time I think about it, because on a episode of Hello Black America, you made a reference to a message that you were getting about if God only had one billionaire that would really have the heart to do the things that serve other people, right, instead of themselves, what a different world this would be. And
we would see it.
Right.
If we see one city that was just being held up because somebody decided they were going to take the same brain that God gave them that they used to make the money, solve the problems to make the money, because that's all making money is. All starting businesses is solving problems, making something run better, faster, more efficient, and take that same commitment to problem solving and looking at some social issues and looking at some issues that maybe don't bring you the return in terms of capital, but they are your give back. So if I'm making $300 billion, or if I made $80 billion in profit, can I take $3 billion of that? Can I take 10%, a tie? Can I take 10% and say, what can I do with $10 billion? How many people's down payments on their houses could I pay with 10? All right, what's the average down payment in this area of this city? Well, it's $15,000. Okay, on an FHA loan, first time home buyer. Okay, so if the average down payment is 15 grand and closing costs is another 10 grand, so that's $25,000. $25,000. What if I just take $10 million, and I pay 400 people's down payments on their home? So 400 people who maybe couldn't have saved up the down payment to get their homes and the closing costs, we're going to cover that. It's just one thing, a down payment program. But no, we got to go through government assisted down payments, and it comes with red tape, and it comes with
where have I heard that before? 25,000. Where did I hear that? Oh, Kamala Harris put forth a $25,000. That's where I heard that before. But we didn't want the black woman to be president, so it's okay. I'm sorry. The cynicism, I couldn't hold it in any longer, brother. I tried. I did. I did make a good effort, brother. And I demand that you acknowledge the progress that I have made in holding the cynicism in. But it just seeped out at that point. I couldn't hold it in no more.
Every week, especially when you run the show by yourself, I'm like, Curtis, get your stuff off, because I know, I know, yeah, and you all we're trying to do here, quite honestly, y'all, is not necessarily. We want to bring solutions, and quite honestly, I think our solutions are becoming more and more limited. And what sometimes when your solutions are more limited, it makes you focus on, if you only got one or two options, that's better than having 10.
Right.
How many of us have a little ADD? Don't give me 10. So I can stay here. I can start my own business, become successful for me. Or I could go get a good job, try to make some good money here. Oh, I could leave and do this. Oh, I can get with some people in my community and we could do all this. When you got all these options, you just end up sitting there like, all right, God, I'm going to just wait on you to tell me.
Yeah.
6 years later, when it's only two things you can do, this or that, it makes it easier to say, all right, I got to pick one of these.
Right.
And yes, there is still some level of comfort here. And when I say level of comfort, I know my people. Like, we know our people. you could put us almost anywhere, and we are gonna survive. We have survived the worst things throughout history, modern history, written history. We've survived it. But I do think we're gonna see a time, and it's a very short time, where you gotta get off the, all right, we voted as a people, whatever, it didn't go our way, we're gonna just sit here. Y'all just go ahead and find out what y'all voted for. There's gonna come a time where that heat is at our door now, where it's like, we're already seeing things being rolled back. We're seeing, okay, you're not gonna be able to just sit here and do nothing for the next 4 years and ride this thing out.
Right.
At the very best, worst case, you got midterms coming, like Get Black With Me said. If people don't like them, you better get out there during the midterm elections, because that's going to be our first indicator, quite honestly, of if there is going to be a break in this unchecked power that the president has at this particular point.
Even before that, even before the midterms, there are some like some races, like in Florida, where people were left for different jobs, that we have to fill those positions. So even now, and coming up, I think maybe in June, there are some races in Florida that could impact the Senate. I mean, the Congress right now, especially the House of Representatives. So even, there's things happening right now that can be done to sort of abate what's been going on with this administration. So I appreciate us not getting involved in the fray of going out there and protesting and things like that. I don't want to see us doing that, but I also want us to be aware that we still have political capital that can be expended that can help turn this thing around now. And the fact of the matter is that we are seeing that these protests that are being undertaken are making a difference. So the people have to keep the pressure on. They cannot acquiesce. They cannot give up and just throw their hands up and just completely withdraw from what's going on. We have to stay engaged if there's any opportunity to save what we've become to know as America, because there is a possibility that if we don't act properly right now, that the America that we know will cease to exist in the not too distant future. And nobody wants to think about things in those terms, but the reality is that we've seen it happen before, and absolutely history will repeat itself if we don't take deliberate action to go in a different direction.
You think people come out and vote in the midterm elections, or you think we don't show? You think people? Let's take a poll real quick. Just those of us who are on here right now, Get Black With Me. You've been great throughout the show, Cyber Lady. I know we had some great conversation, but let's just kind of do a little quick forecast. Next election. Now you see, it's kind of like President Barack Obama. I remember him saying, problem is everyone came out in the election, put so much energy into the election, but then we lost the House during midterms. So we had the opportunity for the first 2 years to get stuff done, and then people didn't show up 2 years later. Do we think we see, hey, this is looking bad, midterms look very strong turnout? Or you think black people, hey, we came out, we voted, it didn't go our way, blah, 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 we're just chilling, and then we get a low turnout during the midterms? What are you thinking?
I was getting ready to make the point that Get Black With Me put up here, is if we base it on the reactions that we're seeing to these town halls that are being held throughout the country, and the overwhelming response of people who don't look like us, who are out there in droves because they don't like what's going on with this unelected shadow president and the things that he's doing and the access that he's been able to purchase. So yeah, we're seeing that people are hyper engaged right now, and certainly if that energy can continue to the next election, to the midterms, yeah, absolutely, it can be a windfall for the Democrats in the next election. But we've shown ourselves to be very short-sighted, to have very short memories in this country. And even if we do, and there's an overwhelming response in 2 years, then we've got to worry about 2 years later if people are taking their foot off the gas and sort of backing off again. And then we end up in a presidential election in 2028 where we end up with the same thing or worse, potentially. So,
well, you just talked about white voters. What couple black people didn't show up for Kamala Harris the way they showed up for President Biden. Couple people, what the black people who are sitting right now, chilling, sipping tea, and saying, "Listen, let them find out what they voted for." They're not at the town halls. They're not at the. Or do we get up in 18 months and get ready to vote, or are we sitting and chilling and watching the damage being done? Black turnout.
We have to. I mean, we have to. We're going to have to re-engage at some point. I think it's fine for us to take some time for our mental stability, to sit back, but we can't stay disengaged. We cannot stay disengaged permanently. So rest if you must, but don't quit. Rest if you must. Take this time for your mental health, to make sure that you're in the frame of mind that you need to be in to continue the battle moving forward. Because the battle has not ended. The battle is still going on. We're just taking a bit of a break from the battle right now. We can't be in the front anymore. We're going to provide logistical support for this battle. But we do need to re-engage in the voting process when the time comes.
That's a great point. I agree with you 100%. It's never been more important. And I just thought this was a good time to bring it up because of the way the conversations have went. I think we need to keep our eye on this because, as Get Black With Me said, more white people are being fired than ever.
Yep.
White people have never moved the needle by themselves for the Democratic side. So they need black people to help move those needles. And, on a state level, I'm just hoping that, like you said, this is a rest period. It was a lot of energy that came in 4 months and 3 months of Kamala Harris, but I'm going to be we're going to be watching and reporting to see at what stage do our people start to step into the ring and realize there's still a fight that needs to happen. And the most important fight for the future of America is probably, in those 20, what is that? That'll be 2027, 2026, 2026 midterms.
Midterms, yes. I'm sorry, 2026.
Yep. Because if he keeps the House and the Senate in those elections, I think, like you said, Curtis, what we know, there's no breaking of the momentum at all. I don't
think we can survive that. Personally, yeah. I don't think this country can survive that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Listen, it is what it is. I love the conversation. We've been had a lot going on today, talked about a lot of good topics. Anything that I want to try and wrap this up if we can and see if we can come to some sort of conclusion. And again, there's so many things I would have loved to have talked about. I was trying to be more intentional about focusing in on black subjects.
And we're going to get better. And we're going to get better. Look, what we wanted to do, and Curtis and I have spoken about this, we have Hello Black America, which is our main show, which is we wrapped up season 1. This is a show where we speak on a specific topic or two for that particular day. We have a show about, 100 years of destroying black communities so everyone can really understand how many communities that we built over the last years that were systemically and government sanctioned destroyed. That's on our channel. We have a special we did about All Things Fulfilled, which show that the prophecies of the Bible are about the people who came over on the transatlantic slave trade, the 400-year prophecy of slavery, and that we would be, as a people, redeemed, and all of this according to prophecy. We have a special on that, All Things Fulfilled. That's been great. We have interviews with, as we talked about earlier, people who've relocated to Africa, what it costs to live there, and how any challenges they had. So we have a variety of things. DNA, how, you know, everyone should be taking for themselves a Y chromosome, a maternal line and paternal line DNA test, a Y chromosome DNA test, to find out where they were before here. What countries were they in? What nations were they in? Where do we really come from? You know, so all of this stuff is on here. But this week in Black America, every Friday at noon Eastern time, we want it to be a rundown. And what we typically do, what we're working every week on, is getting better at being able to run down everything that happened. But sometimes we will go into a very deep discussion. And frankly, we unfortunately, this man just overpowers the conversation, and a lot of times he overpowers the show, him and Elon,
Right.
because they're just doing so many things. But there are a lot of things that are happening that involve Black America that aren't President Trump and Elon Musk topics. And we're going to do a better job every week at making sure we can roll through a lot more of these topics because every week, Curtis, I think we look and we're like, it's this much stuff on the show that we would have loved to get to all of this.
Absolutely. So there's more stuff to be talking about. So there are things other than 47 and his. I was gonna say, I'm not gonna even say what I was gonna say. 47 and his partner. There's more happening in the world globally. There are a lot of things going on. So we encourage you to stay tapped in with us. We try our best to bring you what's going on globally. But certainly there's a lot of things that you can find out. There are news sources. Go out and seek them, not just, you know, your what the mass media here is telling you. There are other sources of news, whether that be globally, looking at like Le Monde or Financial Times or even the New York Times, things like that. They do have a more global point of view. So
Al Jazeera.
I
don't know too much Al Jazeera, but yeah.
Yep. Al Jazeera. So BBC, you know, there are other outlets to get news from, because increasingly the corporate news media in this country is run by the same type of people, those millionaires that we've been railing against in some cases. So stay woke, tune in to our content, check it out. Join us here again on This Week in Black America. We'll be here next Friday, noon. Hope you can join us. Stay safe in them streets. Don't take your rest, because we're going to need it for the battles that come ahead. Thanks for joining us. I'm your co-host, Curtis Cheatham, for my brother, Deshaun. We want to thank you for joining us, and hopefully you'll be back with us next time on This Week in Black America. Thanks for joining us.
We run this beautiful new intro we made on the way out, y'all.